This is Startalk. I'm your host, Neil deGrasse Tyson, your personal astrophysicist, and I'm also director of New York City's Hayden Planetarium at the American Museum of Natural History. And I got with me my co-host, Chuck Nice.
Hey, Neil.
Chucky baby.
Hey, how are you?
Tweeting at Chuck Nice Comic.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
I follow you, by the way.
I follow you, too.
You do? That's
to
very
the
nice
ends
of
of
you.
the earth. my friend. To the ends of the earth.
Actually, I might follow you in a list. I have a lot of lists that I follow because I follow comedians and I follow scientists.
Now I don't feel special.
Oh, sorry.
Like you had me at I follow you. Then you qualified. I follow you along with
46 entities, which includes like the Pentagon
Right.
and, the Navy and DARPA.
All right.
And Chuck.
And Chuck Nice. Somebody will find your Twitter profile and be like, how did Chuck hack his Twitter profile to get in this list?
Well, today we're exploring the science of the singing voice through my interview with singer-songwriter Kelly Clarkson.
Miss Independent. Misunderstood.
In fact, the full interview, because for this, we cut and paste for this. The full interview is available on the Startalk YouTube channel.
Very nice.
All right. And her newest album, which is how she landed in our universe, is called The Meaning of Life.
Oh.
That's how this happened.
Let me tell you, if
Right.
Kelly Clarkson is telling me the meaning of life, I don't want to live. I'm just saying.
So we have in studio expert guest, because I am no vocalologist or vocal. I sing really good in the shower.
Well, your speaking voice would betray the fact that you might be able to sing well.
In the shower. That's it.
Oh, okay.
The acoustics in the shower make everybody sound good. Our guest today is professor and performer Brian Gill. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Hey, thank you very much.
So you are, I got here, you are associate professor of voice.
Yes.
That's a thing.
Yes, and voice pedagogy.
And voice pedagogy.
Yes.
Ooh.
Wow.
At Indiana University.
Yes.
This is in Bloomington, Indiana.
Bloomington, Indiana, yes. Lovely little college town.
The Jacobs School of Music.
Yes.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
And it
thanks.
says here you are a vocalologist.
Yes.
That's just wrong. That should not be a word.
They made that up.
You made that up.
Did it just real quick on the fly.
I'm sorry, I won't be in this Friday. I have an appointment with my vocalogist.
Yeah, there you go.
You're fired.
It sounds official, so then
It sounds
does.
just because you're good at a thing doesn't mean you put ologist
just-
on it, and then that's another thing.
Are you a
Yes.
voice teacher or a vocalist?
I'm a funnyologist.
I'm a comedologist.
Right,
I have to
comedologist.
laugh then.
Right.
So you're a tenor,
Yes.
and you're a performer as a
Yep.
tenor. And opera, musical theater, love musical theater,
Yeah, me too.
concert recitals in the U.S. and in Europe. I feel privileged that you're in town.
I feel privileged to be here with you two.
We snatched you out of, you were going to head back to Indiana yesterday,
Yes, and going back tonight.
and we delayed your plane knowing that you So I got to know.
Trouble on the tarmac. Is that-
I got to know. I got people. I know the guy who does who checks the engines.
Right. You see that dude out there with the two
Yeah.
like cones, lit up cones?
yeah,
those are Neil's
They dragged
buddies.
me off.
Right.
I didn't know what hit me.
So I have to ask, what specifically is vocology?
It's the quick definition: science and practice of voice habilitation, and if necessary, rehabilitation.
Gotcha.
So now I know what habilitation is.
Yeah.
I never knew. We all know what rehabilitation
Of
is.
course.
Yeah.
But nobody ever habilitates.
It's truly.
No.
Right.
Only in
no.
private.
Yeah,
I do habilitate.
Fix it later. Wait till it's broken.
Well, wait. So habilitate is what would that be then? The sustenance and care and feeding of your
Yeah,
voice.
you
Right.
teach a person
So you
really
don't injure
high level
your voice.
function, so you do not injure your
So
voice.
you don't injure it.
Yes,
So
that is
then
the
you
key.
don't have to rehabilitate.
That's right, because it's more difficult to rehabilitate than habilitate.
Gotcha.
Once the system's broken, to get the pieces back together, including the mind and how the person reacted to the injury or the breakdown of the system, is very difficult.
Wow.
No, that's a
That's when you
thing.
know you're a
So-
real singer, when you have a singing injury.
And about,
I would love to be in this opera, but I'm on injured reserve. Right.
I tore my rotator cuff
Hey,
in my
right.
voice.
Now playing the part of Carmen, unfortunately,
well, then
due to injury.
I'm out for the season.
Yeah, I'm right. Yes.
That's what happens. But it covers any professional voice user, which would also be someone like you all that use your voice in this medium.
Right.
So
We do.
that's right.
Yeah,
So if something happens with a politician or a teacher at school or something like that, because they have a heavy voice load, then a vocalogist is uniquely trained to help them out.
I remember Bill Clinton.
Yes.
I remember he needed, and he ran into, he already sounded like this to begin with. I just want to let you know that I talk like this because I'm not habilitating the way I should. And then I remember he was either campaigning for himself or Hillary or Barack Obama. I'm not sure. But anyway, he had to come off the campaign trail because
he lost his voice.
He had injured his voice.
Yeah,
And they called it an injury.
Yeah. It's a really common thing, unfortunately.
Okay.
Wow.
But if you're habilitated,
Interesting.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
We'll be drawing on your expertise heavily
Excellent.
for this conversation that I've had with Kelly Clarkson. She's been judged as one of the best vocalists in the industry.
I'm going to say so, yeah.
She's
I
got
agree.
a powerhouse voice.
She does.
She's
From the top.
versatile. Sold 25 million albums, 36 million singles worldwide.
Jeez.
And she was the first artist in history. I got crack team of researchers here to top each of Billboard's pop, adult contemporary, country, and dance charts.
Wow.
Man.
And only 2 of those actually count.
Which one's pop and dance? Right. No, country people.
Now is huge.
Yeah,
country's
huge.
huge.
All right. Yeah, I'm
Country-
joking. Who
country's
cares? What do I
huge.
know? I'm joking.
Hootie went over
So I had to ask her about her newest album, The Meaning of Life.
Nice.
Yeah, so let's just straight up, let's figure out where that came from. Check it out. So The Meaning of Life is your 8th album.
Yes.
And now, forgive me, I haven't heard all your albums,
Yes.
but I heard this one.
I'm so offended.
But I've listened.
I'm leaving. I'm just kidding.
I got
kidding. I'm just kidding.
But this one, I've heard the stuff that is charted off of
Yeah.
those albums.
Yeah,
Of course,
yeah.
I've heard those. In this album, there's a soulfulness to it.
Yes.
But it has sort of pop roots, bringing soul
Definitely
into
soulful
it.
pop.
And I'm old enough to I'm trying to ask myself, where would they have put this album in the stovepiped categories in a
Yeah.
record shop?
Yeah.
And I don't think there's a spot.
No, I mean, I guess pop just because it's popular.
No, there's too much soul. Excuse me.
Yeah.
No.
No,
No.
ma'am.
No,
It is a more soulful pop. Well,
Let me
it's
tell you
funny,
why?
though.
Because you sing, and I just have to stop what I'm doing and
Yeah.
just
Thank you.
feel it.
Thank you.
Whereas a pop song, you can keep cooking, you shake to it, but you're not moved by it.
Yeah, thank
When was the last
you.
time someone was moved by a pop song?
Yeah.
That's why it's pop, because everybody likes it.
Yeah, it's popular. Yeah.
It's popular,
Yeah.
right? But if you're
Yeah.
moved,
No,
that's
the
another
record we wanted
kind
to
of.
make. Yeah.
You made it.
You weaving, bobbing, weaving.
just-
You're like-
I'm just saying, you made it.
No, it is soulful pop, and there's definitely a difference when you listen to this album versus the other albums. I mean, one, you can just, I'm happy, and it creates a whole different. That happiness creates a whole domino effect of different sounds and tones, and even the freedom that Atlantic has given me creates a whole different vibe. Because an artist in their form to where they're able to just go, okay, well, wait, I can do whatever I want. Like, you know.
It's like, what? Holy
yeah, it's scary because you're like, wait, it's all on me.
Now you're accountable.
Yeah.
This stuff doesn't sell.
Yeah.
Right.
But luckily, I was telling my husband this, like, even before the album dropped, I was like, I've literally been waiting so long to make this musical footprint that, like, even if it didn't do as well as other things, I love that, like, I'm still happy at the end of the day for that, you know, because I've been very blessed. I've had 15 great years of success. And even if it were over me, like, I've had a phenomenal career and I'm very thankful.
So Brian, from a sort of a vocalogist's perspective, what sets her voice apart?
Happiness.
Happiness. I think now that we heard that, I love that. That's beautiful.
And now we
She's
know that she
creating
was
something.
miserable
Yeah,
for the last
before that.
15 years before this album.
Well, she's what I'd call a thoroughbred of vocalists, in that she can do something that's a very high demand on the voice, the amount of we call it connection at the vocal fold level, and that
Vocal
she's
fold, what is that?
What is
fold.
that?
The vocal folds are 2 flaps of tissue in the larynx right here.
Oh, don't do that. Oh, wow. Let's see if I can do that.
That when air...
No, I can't. I don't even know what that is. You flick your finger into your throat.
He plucked his throat and made a sound.
We'll get to acoustics soon, right? Yeah, that's it. There you go.
No, I'm not doing that to my neck. I'm sorry.
First of all,
let's get around.
Let me tell you something.
No, I think he's a robot.
I am plucking myself so hard that it hurts, and I still can't get any sound out of it.
Yeah, you have to close the vocal folds, and you'll get it.
I'll close the vocal folds.
Like you're lifting something. You go...
Oh my God! It worked.
Nice
job.
Susan, I am not even attempting.
That's it.
I'm
That's
sorry.
it. Nice.
Yeah, but you can't breathe.
But she's been able to sustain that kind of production and really, really well over 15. Plus years. It's been 15 years in stardom, but even longer than that. So
Brian, you performed opera, hard rock,
yes,
funk.
When I had hair.
Okay.
Yes,
And
funk. Yeah.
Funk. Not in Indiana.
No.
I'm guessing that was in another municipality.
Another life. Yeah,
okay.
absolutely. Yeah.
Jazz, even Indian classical music, which
Indian
I love. I love
classical.
Indian classical.
No.
Of these genres, not only the ones you performed in, but what Kelly Clarkson has shined in, can you rank them based on the demands on vocal performance?
Yeah. I think they all have different demands, especially hard rock or the gravel people expect in the voice and heavy metal, that kind of thing.
Ooh, the gravel. I mean, like a Janis Joplin gravel.
It's like a noise, kind of like a snarl.
Grit.
Exactly.
Like you're taking a dump and drinking Jack Daniels at the same time. Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz?
Where did you get that?
Difficult to pass.
Out of my head.
It's hard. I'm just saying, it's a difficult thing
Don't
to
say
do.
things I can't then get out of my head for the next 48 hours.
It's got to sound more constipated.
Right, exactly. Janice, we
there
need
it
more
is.
constipation. My friends all have Jaguars. You know what I mean?
That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Or like Joe Cocker.
Yeah, Joe
You know what I
Cocker,
mean?
man.
Yeah.
But then you get to, like, for Westerners, Indian classical music involves different tonality, and that's really challenging. So figuring out how to do that. Luckily, I was not the lead singer, so I was the head of a backing group behind
I'm sorry, I don't know anything about Indian classical music. Is that the music that goes on for like a half hour without a key change?
Yes, it can go on a long time with just a beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And they kind of chant
Sitar's
over it.
in there somewhere too. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
All right.
Yep.
Cool.
So in these genres, then, because they come from such different cultural places, country, Indian, funk, pop, is it technique, or do you have to actually feel it? Do you need some genetic link back into that place to draw from in order to perform or to excel?
Both. I think there's a technique to it. There's a way that you use your voice that you can actually define in a scientific way what the people are doing. It's not. It's no longer as much of a mystery. But then there's also an exposure to a genre that's in absolutely imperative someone have, or else they sound like a poser. Yeah. You have to grow up loving it.
Yeah,
and
it's got to be in your under your skin.
Yeah. So I have people who come to me as opera singers, and then they're like, I want to do a little bit more rock. But I was like, well, do you like rock? Not really. And
Well, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, they're gonna sound
the guy
funny.
down the hallway.
Yeah.
So I asked Kelly about her, how she conveys feelings and emotions in her singing. So let's check it out. That's got me thinking. I can read a poem on a page or rhyme, and it'll mean something informationally to me, perhaps. But if I hear you sing it, there's a whole other conduit of communication going on.
Oh, definitely.
And are you must be self-aware of that, and you can go in there and you can manipulate it. How do you grok that?
I think I don't even think about it. I think I'm just I've always been touched by music, even before I knew I could sing. I loved dancing. I loved music. It was a safe place for me. It was a whole different kind of learning, just with people's lives, whether it was, rock, rap, pop, like country, whatever you were listening to. It's, the music is a very good indication of the time in that timeline that you're referring to. Music, if you look at it, it always follows it, because we're obviously, artists are affected by our, nature and nurture a bit. So, I don't know.
But what's your goal? You can reach people emotionally, but you also would have the capacity in a song, because a song is a story, to reach people informationally.
Yeah, I mean,
what's your balance? What's your balance?
I like to be throw a bit of, be a bit poetic, but at the same time, keep the story simple enough to where people aren't focused on the words of the story. It's more focused on the feeling of the story. It's more focused on how that made me feel and because I'm more of an emotional person.
Because otherwise just go out and read a damn book.
Yeah. I mean,
if you want words, too many words. All right.
Yeah. And I don't know. I've always been the one to focus more on, I always feel like, okay, I know I talk about Meryl Streep a lot, but my point is
not yet on this show.
I know, but I'm just saying I do talk about her a lot, but here's my point. And I've never said this before, but it's like,
and I love me some Meryl Streep.
But I feel like she's one of those people, it could be a silent movie. And she would effortlessly, flawlessly dictate by her emotions, her eyes, just every part of her. You would know exactly what she's saying without her saying anything through the entire movie. I think she would have been the most fantastic silent actress as well, because she's got that art to her whole physical body, her emotional state in her eyes, in her mouth and her, all of that, whether it's Miranda Priestley or whatever character she's playing. And
From The Devil Wears Prada.
Yes. Or if it's Out of Africa or so short, whatever those are, she does so much. And I think that as a singer too, that's what I try to do. With songs, I try to whatever the words are, I could be not saying words at all and just singing melody, but by my intensity or by
the modulation of that intensity?
My emotion. Yeah, you could almost tell the story I'm saying without even there being words.
Yeah. So Brian, would you say there's an evolutionary propensity to respond to a singing voice as opposed to just a spoken voice? And why? I mean, if you're just communicating information, I'll just utter a sentence. Mm-hmm. But somehow that doesn't work as well as if I sing a sentence.
Yeah, I think singing and the different timbres that you have and ranges that you use in singing are more impactful with communication. Darwin had thought that in hominids, early progenitor of man, that the first utterances were probably musical. And so if you think about most species,
doo-wop or
a little doo-wop.
Bunch of cavemen just
we don't have vocabulary yet.
That's right.
So it's just ba-ba-doo-ba-ba-da-ba-doo-ba.
They can't say
That's
you're
where
out of
scat
tune.
was invented.
But most species have some kind of song for mating and attracting people and identifying family and territory and all those things.
I just an early hominid standing outside of a cave going, my mind's telling me yes, but my body's telling me no. Come on out here, girl.
Oh, Lord.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I had to ask Kelly about the basis for the thematic basis for her current album.
Yeah.
So let's check it out. The Meaning of Life.
When you say it like that, it's far more dramatic.
That's kind of bodacious, audacious.
Yes.
To be calling your album.
Bold.
It was bold.
You can figure out the meaning of life when you buy my album.
That's a great selling point.
It's like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, the golden ticket.
Wow. Okay. So that means I don't get to learn it.
I know. Not just yet. Not so you get it. I'm just saying.
So the meaning of life, is this something you've known for a while or just kind of came onto it?
No, I think we're all under construction. And I think the point of me doing it.
We're all under construction.
We are. And
beautiful.
Yeah. And I think the point of it.
In fact, the people who are fully built, they're no longer learning anything.
Well, and that's, first of all, any person that thinks they've got it figured out completely is a total dork.
It means they really haven't figured it out because they haven't figured it out that they haven't figured it out.
Yeah. What if you're a philosopher? Yes. No, but I do. I think that meaning of life is really just about connection and making sure they're positive connections. There's always people
to people.
Yeah.
But how about all the negative people who are out there?
You just push them outside your bubble. Yeah. And I have a tattoo for that. Pastor told me
most people have an app for that.
I know, I have a tattoo. Well, because I really needed the daily reminder. I work in an industry when people can be not so lovely. And so I have a tattoo, and a pastor told me this when I was a kid, and I loved him. He was one of those people that you wanted to, you're like, what do you have in your life? Because I want to be like you. He just had a light about him. And I just thought he was special. And he said one time that, there's going to be people in your life, and it's easy to love the lovely people, but it's not easy to love the unlovely. And I thought that was really poignant. And I thought that, you have to love the people that are unlovely even more because they weren't loved enough. So,
You're missing something in life.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think it's about just, trying to make those positive connections and really, I think it's simple. I think we complicate it as humans because we try and figure everything out. And sometimes you can't,
But you're
sometimes you can, I can't.
your mother was a school teacher.
She was.
So here you are making it part of your life's mission to figure things out. And at school teacher, they're trying to get their kids to figure stuff out.
Yeah, I think teachers
how much of
question.
that touched you?
She always taught me to question. And I think that's the best part of whether you're talking about faith, politics, life, any love. It's always to question it. Like it's always, I love that. I love to question whatever's happening in the moment. One, to make sure it's real. And two, just because I don't think when you stop questioning, then you stop asking, you stop caring, right? I don't know.
I can't say it better than that.
I bet you can. I bet you can effortlessly.
Coming up, more on the science of voice and my interview with Kelly Clarkson when Startalk returns. Welcome back to Startalk. I'm with my co-host, Chuck Nice.
That's right.
And our expert guest in this episode, Brian Gill, professor of voice at Indiana University.
Hello.
Bloomington.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're talking about the science of the singing voice, featuring my interview with Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah.
And I just had something to follow up. We talked about your capacity to bring an emotion or an authenticity to what it is you're saying.
Right.
And I remembered I liked James Taylor, but not enough to buy all his albums. I waited till he had his greatest hits, and I bought the greatest hits album.
Okay.
And on there,
Why were you having trouble sleeping?
No. My sister can't get enough of him, and so goes to all his concerts and everything.
Right.
And so I'm listening to the album, and I'm a fan of the blues.
Right.
Okay, and in there, he has
A blues song?
the Steamroller Blues.
Oh.
James
yeah.
Taylor?
He has a blues song. And then I said, okay, he's trying,
Yeah.
but he went to like a prep school in Massachusetts
Right.
in high school,
Mhm.
and it goes to Martha's Vineyard, and how many blues singers ever came out of Massachusetts?
Yeah.
And so I could.
Woke up this morning, but the Volvo wouldn't start.
He does drop the F-bomb though in that one.
He does.
So I think that does.
Is that what that was?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so
just
it was
improv
not-
at the end.
It just wasn't working for me.
Yeah.
He was not convincing as it wasn't working. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it wasn't working for him either. I'm telling you. I'm letting you know. But I think the blues as a genre is probably the one that you would have to feel the most.
I'm thinking
in
personally,
order to.
I
in
tweeted
order,
recently the list of states that blues singers don't tend to come from.
oh, I love that.
Utah,
Top of the list.
Utah. Oh my God.
New Hampshire.
Yes. Dude, that's amazing. How did I miss that tweet? That's amazing.
How do you miss that?
How did I miss that tweet?
I'm
That
just
is
saying.
phenomenal.
Yeah, you gotta be like from Alabama,
Right.
Mississippi.
Exactly.
You gotta be Poe in Chicago.
You gotta be Poe in Chicago. That's it. Right. Louisiana.
Yeah, someplace.
Right. You need right. Exactly. There's got to be some poor black people near you somewhere. That's what it is.
Or you
It's
don't
just-
have the
or you-
blues.
you don't have
Colorado?
Right.
No.
No,
No.
no Colorado blues.
No.
You know what I mean?
That's
What
right.
do they sing about? Just like
Rocky
no
Mountain
snow,
High.
this-
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's what
My
you get. You get
my skis broke.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? No hot chocolate at the lodge. Like, really?
Only
No.
3 marshmallows. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that's dude, that's
Yeah, so,
brilliant.
I know, just saying.
That is
That's-
brilliant.
You got to find that tweet.
That is,
I
I
listed about
can't
6
wait.
states.
Yeah, that
It's about
is
6
brilliant.
states, I think.
And the Utah blues, I'm going home to write that. I'm going to write that song tonight. I guarantee you.
got
The
the
Utah
Utah
blues. Can't wait.
So let's get back to my interview with Kelly Clarkson and see where that takes us next. Check it out. Do you think of your voice as an instrument that needs cultivating and care? And,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I have to. I
Well,
mean,
the reason why I ask is we were in the green room before you performed in the YouTube
Yeah.
space, and I love it that they call it space.
yeah, you
YouTube
would.
space, yes. If you got space in your name, I'm good with it. But before, you were like just yucking it up with everybody in the green room, and you just walk out there, and then out comes this. How?
Well, I warmed up earlier this morning, so I worked before. I've been working since this morning, so I definitely aim to warm up every day. It's just like a speaker, like a public speaker. Like your voice is, or a runner, your voice is a muscle. You know, it's these little things that you have to keep trained. And I know some singers don't have to. I think I've heard Jennifer. In an interview, Jennifer Hudson, she said that she didn't.
You're all your first name people.
Oh, sorry.
I'm going to start name dropping first name.
No.
Okay.
I'm saying it because I don't think she does.
Stephen Hawking. Yeah, okay. All right. My turn. My turn. Okay.
My turn. Yeah, you're in a different pool of people.
I was reading Ike the other day. Isaac Newton. Yes. Okay. Okay.
No,
Jennifer Hudson.
No, I'm saying she's, a huge
another
big
American Idol
vocalist
person
as well. Yes, and she's a big vocalist, and she doesn't. She said in interviews, I found it shocking. She was like, I don't warm up at all. It just happens. So I'm not like that. I have to warm up a bit. I can do it. It's just not going to sound as good.
Okay. Now, not to call you out, but you are 15 years older than you were when you won American Idol. So is the warm up the same?
Oh, it's
now?
Easier.
Easier.
Yeah, I think.
Why?
You know what's funny? I saw Tony Bennett at this.
Tony Bennett. Thank you. No, that's fine. It had both names. Did say I saw Tony.
No, I was saying I was at this event, and this was years ago, and he sang, and he was 80 something, and I was like, I mean, he killed all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was amazing. And I'm a Tony Bennett fan, but I was, I don't know. I thought maybe the older we get, like, I don't know, sometimes people sound different. He sounds even better, like a fine glass of wine. It's so beautiful. Yeah. And I will say, if you're doing things correctly and you're taking care of yourself and you're not ruining your chords, you're not ruining your chords, you're not getting noduled, you're not doing things that you're not supposed to be doing.
Your vocal cords or your musical cords?
Your vocal cords. But like is that
a weird question? I don't know. I didn't know.
No, I mean my vocal cords.
Vocal
like
cords.
You're not, you hear people having to have surgery, all that stuff. If you're taking care of yourself, I think that you get better with age. Your voice sounds more lived in, and it sounds like I can go lower, I can go higher.
I like that phrase, lived in.
Yeah.
Like a good pair of boots. Just to be clear, in the green room before she went out, I understated what she was doing in the green room. She had friends, her husband, her agent, her book, everybody, and she's just yucking it up with everybody while she's eating chicken and waffles.
Wow.
Just scarfing down chicken and waffles. So I'm thinking
that's a good warm up.
What's about to happen after this? I had no idea. She went out there
and ripped it apart.
Just tore a new one. Wow. So tell me about the anatomy of the vocal cords.
So, there are two.
And while you're at it, I'd like to distinguish them, if you can, from that of other primates or anything else that would make sounds like birds or whales. Yeah.
Ooh. One of the main things in human beings, the larynx, which is the voice box right here, has descended. And so it creates a bent resonator that's like a space here and then a space going this way that are roughly about the same size.
Upward and then forward.
All the other species have a larynx that's way up there. And so they only use it for sound, and they don't use their tongue very much for articulation when they're making sound. So that's unique about human beings.
So where the others sound like the Nutty Professor, you're like, and I haven't flying.
So anyway, so that's one of the unique features. And then you've got, with voice use, you've got this power source, which is the air that comes from your lungs. You've got the tissue here, the vocal folds that vibrate, that create sound, and then that sound's filtered through the space above it. So that's the basics of the way the instrument works.
Now, does that serve any purpose for us, socially or otherwise, that we would be so different?
Yeah, and the way we use our voice too serves a purpose. There was a study not too long ago where people could judge trustworthiness and dominance in, I think it was 500 milliseconds of listening to someone.
Really?
Yeah.
So
right away.
Deep information about social interaction is communicated just by the tonality of your voice.
In milliseconds.
Wow.
So so there's certain habits that people have that are often rated higher, or like the way a woman modulates the voice, like using different pitches and things like that. That's trustworthy. a person who does that, and then same thing with male.
And if they're Valley Girl,
that they speak a little bit higher, and they say, "Now listen, we have to." That's also rated as trustworthy. Honey, please,
sweetie.
Okay, so it's not just words. So, for example, the writer has that challenge because if you're just putting words on a page, it's harder to then communicate the tonality of how that's actually being expressed. So the good writers somehow get that in the sentence, right? Either by the pre-descriptor, she responded anxiously, or and then you put that in.
Right.
But you don't need any of that if you're just speaking it.
Right, because you can hear that. So you can hear all these things.
Yep.
Okay, so
and if you understand the emotions, like the trigger 4 voice goes through the limbic system, which is part of where emotion comes from, hypothalamus.
Trigger 4 voice.
The trigger, like the
trigger
impulse,
4 voice.
the nerve
So the
firing
trigger
for
for the
voice.
interaction of voice with another person.
It runs through the limbic system, and so emotion then can be encoded on the voice because it's running through there.
Which is why when you were talking to someone and you say, "I'm terribly sorry, but I really need you to move this along," and they say, "Calm down," and you're like, "I am not upset."
You a lying motherfucker.
Right, exactly.
It's hard to hide. It's hard to hide because
hide.
it's there, which was what makes a performer so unique, because they're actually taking a signal. You know what happens to your voice if you're really upset? You lose your voice. I mean, you can't do anything. So a performer's taking that signal and they're getting just enough of the emotional information, encoding it in the voice so that a community can understand it. Yeah, on purpose in the moment, but they're not going too far. So there's this whole thing nowadays where people are trying to push people to feel, and then person gets in there and they're like, and they can't sing.
Right.
And it's like, that's too far. So we have to figure out, it's much more complex than that. You can't be void of emotion, but you also can't be overwhelmed by it.
So tell me, can you reflect on her comments about age and what that does with your voice?
Yeah, so first...
all the Sopranos, they're done, but, there are no 80-year-old Sopranos.
Rare. It's a rare thing. Marilla Franey, though.
Series. I'm sorry.
A shout out to Marilla Franey, though.
Okay.
She's one of the best in the opera world, and she's 80-something now and still sounds beautiful.
At 80?
At 80-something.
But they usually send them
happens.
out to pasture. So what's going on there?
Yeah, so what happens, there's a breakdown in the voice, and one of the things that jumped out in that clip was, I believe Kelly's in her 30s. I think so. Yeah, so that's not aging voice. That's like the prime of your life for voice. Right. So you get in there, the musculature develops in your 30s and into your 40s, and then it starts right around in the 50s, mid-50s, it starts going downhill. In that, there's muscle atrophy, there's a thinning of the vocal folds themselves, and there's also ossification and calcification in the vocal the voice box. Yeah, hardening, which gives you less flexibility, and so there's a downgrading of technique.
It would make you less versatile, but it wouldn't mean you still can't put some soulful
definitely not
elements in your song.
Yeah, and I think what she
was
saying.
The Tony Bennett example.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites. He's one of my favorites, and actually, functionally, he lasted far more than other singers of his era. So, but
because the others died. But
exactly.
Sammy's dead.
They're all gone.
All gone.
That's one way to do it.
Outlive Martin's dead.
Outlive him.
That is perfect.
Perry Cuomo's dead.
Right. Bing Crosby. All of them. They're all dead.
All dead.
Nice.
But yeah, if you combine the understanding a person gains through life, that even the sort of lack of ability they may have or flexibility that they may have is made up for in their understanding of emotion, and they're more deeply grounded in life. So that shows.
Interesting.
So today, as I came to learn, your singing voice, like most things in society, can be enhanced by technology. Mm-hmm. And I asked Kelly about auto-tune. Just find out how that plays. Let's check it out. Am I allowed to ask you in front of cameras?
Yes.
Do you use auto-tune?
On records?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't do it live, but we definitely have used it on records.
Because auto-tune, you can now do it live. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
What you sing here comes out on the right note.
Live. There are people that do concerts that have their vocals, because I know who they are, because I know the people that work for them.
It's just people in the closet about their auto-tune.
No, there are people that auto-tune live.
Right.
I don't do that live. I don't want to take away from that emotional moment. But when it's on record, I don't mind if I love a performance and I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna nail that again, or if I even try it again and I haven't nailed, like there was just everything was perfect, but one thing, I don't want that one thing to ruin the whole vibe. So I don't mind like using it sparingly, but we definitely don't use it a ton
because it's a major addition to the musician's arsenal. the singer's arsenal.
I mean, there are a lot of cool things you can do. I mean, I know a lot of guys in rap use them because it sounds cool. Like,
oh, that's when we did a whole program for Nova back when I was host of a Nova spinoff called Nova Science Now.
Yeah.
I interviewed the guy who invented autotune.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about what happens if you change, you can manipulate it over the edge, and then it makes that funny
the
distortion,
robotic kind of weird,
right, and
which can be cool. So, like, on this, we did it on Medicine on this album.
He made it clear that was not the intent. The intent is to fix your note to be the proper note,
absolutely,
not to dangle off the side of the waterfall, where all these extra weird noises come from. Yeah.
Yes, and it's also cool, like, because how we like, okay, there's a song called Medicine. That's where we use it. Like on Medicine, there's this part that goes. Never get me high, never get me lit. And I sing it, but then there's this also part, they literally took my vocal and almost like changed it, manipulated it like an octave lower to where it has this like, never get me high. And it's like this, it sounds like a man. My mom was like, who's the man on your record? I was like, that's my voice. They just manipulated it. So there's really cool things you can do with it. I think at the end of the day, if you're not capable of doing it live, then I don't think you should maybe do it. That's my personal thing. But if it's like, gonna ruin a moment that was really beautiful and like you don't want to change that moment, that doesn't bother me.
Yeah. So Brian, would you say autotune in music is analogous to doping in athletics? Chuck hosts a sports spinoff of Startalk called Playing with Science, and all manner of these topics come up. But now we have an analog in a whole other field. You are fixing your performance. So that people will applaud
voice
rather
doping.
than voice doping. Yeah.
Well,
That's cool.
Doping in sports brings you to the ability to do it though live.
Right.
Whereas autotune doesn't. Autotune puts it on some kind of digital format. And so I think what Kelly said is right on the money. I think if you can't do it live, what's the point? Because you're trying to commune. Most people perform because they're trying to commune with people.
Yeah, but if you can't perform any longer and autotune helps you hit that note, then that to me sounds just like doping.
It does.
Okay. I'm ready for a fight. But no,
that's it.
There it is. Settled.
I agree with you, Dr. Tyson.
Just another quick one. Do you think that computers will one day, AI, for example, will be able to not only compose an emotional music, but then perform it in a way that we might not even need humans because it'll know how to maximize access to your emotional purse strings, not purse strings,
heartstrings.
Heartstrings. Thank you.
I think I'm gonna go on record saying no. Never gonna happen. Yeah, well, I don't want it to happen.
He doesn't want it to happen. It ain't like he don't want it.
By the way, Brian, they'll never be able to write a funny joke either.
Exactly. Right. There's no computer.
My two experts.
Right.
We got to take a quick break. When Star Talk returns, more of my interview with singing sensation Kelly Clarkson. We're back on Star Talk. Co-host Chuck Nice, guest Brian Gill.
Yes.
Vocologist.
So
fancy. We're featuring my interview with singer-songwriter, voice sensation Kelly Clarkson. And just before we went to break, we were talking about whether autotune, which puts you on note, contrary to how so many people think of autotune as doing a funny thing, it puts you on. You become a warbler or something.
Exactly.
It puts you on note.
Do you believe?
Thank you, Cher. Are you
darn good?
Are you? And you said it had meaningful analogies to doping in sports, but then during the break, you mentioned that there are actual singers who are actually taking actual steroids in support of their voice.
Yeah. So for some that are legit and they have a big gig that they've got to do, and if you're going to earn $50,000, you're going to do it.
Right.
And if you take steroids, it can reduce the swelling and enable you to get through a performance. But they're abused often. So folks behind, they'll be backstage in a Broadway show and they'll be looking who has steroids, and looking for pills.
I need the juice, man.
That exactly. And it's usually
no. What they have, they're actually pumping iron too.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, they're buff. These are buff people. So.
Wow.
That's why the singers are getting buff lately.
Exactly right.
Oh my!
6-pack.
So let's get back to my interview with Kelly Clarkson. Did you know she's also an author?
No, I did
She's
not.
written children's books.
That doesn't count.
Let me tell you why it counts.
Go ahead.
There will always be children to buy your book.
Well,
Whereas there's only one pool of adults at any given time.
this is so true, and but a brilliant marketing scheme does not legitimacy make.
Anyhow, I found out that she wrote a lullaby to go with each one of her books. So I had to get inside that and find out what was going on.
That's cool.
Let's check it out. I also understand you wrote a lullaby for each of your 2 books.
I wrote a lullaby for the first one.
I love lullabies.
Yeah,
They're
I do
so
too.
beautiful.
It was when I was going to write a lullaby for each one, and we might still do that. But the Christmas one, which was the second one in the River Rose series, I actually did a full-on Christmas song for, because we thought it would be cool, because there's not a lot of original Christmas songs out there. You know, we always even on my Christmas album, there's, you know, a few, but
I'm
a lot of them are
dreaming of a
classics.
white- yeah.
But I love that one. But it's nice to do something original every once in a while. So we did a full-on Christmas song for the second book, but there's a lullaby for the first one. It's the song I sang to her when she was a baby.
So the book series begins with what words? I mean,
The River Rose and the Magical Lullaby is the first one.
okay, River Rose and the.
River Rose and the Magical Lullaby, and then it's River Rose and the Magical Christmas is the second one.
Okay, and
Yeah.
we'll see more, presumably.
Yeah, there's a whole series that I've written. We actually didn't plan on the Christmas one; it just came up.
Right.
And my editor, I was like, "We can do that in a year, right?" And he was like, "Uh-huh." And I was like, because I really wanted it to come out. It's a fun age, you know, for River Rose, the real River Rose, like, you know, for Christmas. So I thought it would be cool. She loves it, so it's kid approved, which is hard to get.
They
kid
stamp
approved.
it and it's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So lullabies. I think it's scientifically demonstrated to be soothing to babies. I mean, we
Yeah.
knew that empirically, but I
Yes.
think you can study brain patterns and what parts of it hits, and it calms
It's almost
anxieties.
the same as a speaking voice, like a smooth, rather than like your voice compared to my speaking voice. Yours would be more soothing.
So you can sing and I can speak, and we can go on the road.
We have a duo. I'm ready.
I say the universe.
And I go, the universe. Yeah.
This is actually good. I like it. I like it.
So Brian, is there a definition of a lullaby? A functional definition?
It's, I mean,
Other than
from
that,
what I understand,
babies dig it, right? Other than
babies
that.
dig it. No, the basic idea is it's a construct of a song that's designed to be super simple, because with their cognitive functioning, children can't process something that's too difficult. So it has really consonant intervals,
Consonant.
not dissonant.
Oh, not dissonant. That's the opposite of dissonant.
Yeah,
Okay.
da da dum,
Yeah.
da da dum.
Okay.
Yeah,
Simple,
mellow.
yeah.
Yep, and then
Nursery
repetitive.
rhyme-like
Exactly, and repetitive
melodies.
is key.
Right,
So something
repetitive.
that's repetitive, so that
it's all of music today, basically.
I fall asleep
Yes,
often.
exactly. It's like, you know, when you listen to the radio, it's like, hey, you're an idiot. You'll like this.
Is that what that?
I'm sorry.
That's the preamble to every song.
Pretty
the
much every
unspoken
song, the
preamble.
unspoken preamble. Hey, you're an idiot. You might like this.
The dummies are gonna love it.
Can I tell you my favorite lullaby?
Ooh.
It's "Feed the Birds"
Feed the birds?
from Mary Poppins.
I don't know it.
Yes, you do.
Do I know it?
Oh my gosh! And I love just the words, and she sings it to lull the children to sleep, and and she sings about the bird woman at St. Paul's Cathedral.
This is getting scarier
Feed
than
the
ever.
birds, tuppence a bag, tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bag.
It worked, Neil.
What just happened?
It worked quick. It worked. and
Man.
so there's a bird lady who's homeless,
Right.
who you buy bags of crumbs from her to then feed the hungry birds on the steps of St. Paul's.
That's sweet.
And there's a line where she says, the saints and apostles look down as she sells her wares. Although you can't see it, you know they're smiling each time someone shows that he cares. It's
sweet.
a really beautiful song. Very,
That's gorgeous.
It's
Yeah, I love
beautiful.
that.
It's socially conscious,
Yep.
and it's
Yep.
and these are not infants. They're tweens.
Yeah.
The kids are tweens, and so that's my favorite. You got a lullaby?
My favorite lullaby, Sexual Healing by Marvin Gaye. I've been really trying, baby. Yeah.
Brian?
To sleep or get in the bed? Just trying to figure that. There's a difference.
It's not to go to sleep, it's to sleep with. There's two different uses of
things. Two different things, right?
Mine are my wife Kim, most beautiful soprano voice you've ever heard, and she sings to my boys every night. We both do, but she'll sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow to one by request. She takes requests, and then the other one she sings The Easter Bunny is Coming to Town Today. The Easter Bunny is coming to town today, and he just sits there.
And he loves it.
Wait, how old are they?
7 and 9.
7 and 9. Wait. So you married another singer?
Yeah. Yes. Because of her
That's a
voice.
thing?
We were performing together. I heard her voice. She was rehearsing, and I heard this voice, and I was like, man. And then later, I met her. I didn't know it was her voice. And I walked up, and I was like, ooh, man. And then I put the two in together.
So it was a mating call.
Yeah, it was. It was. Come to me.
That's
It's like the penguins in the movie.
Right.
Only it's the sound for just one other person in the whole world.
Everything else was silenced.
That's tremendous.
And the sun rose. No,
That's awesome, man.
that was cool.
Well,
Good.
congratulations.
So in this last clip with Kelly, I think we bonded over the poetic beauty of the Great American Total Solar Eclipse of August 2017. Let's check it out. So you're from Tennessee?
I'm from Texas, but I've been in Tennessee for over a decade.
For a decade. Okay, so
Yeah.
you're a resident of Tennessee.
I'm a resident. Yeah, Nashville.
What part of Texas?
Fort Worth, Burleson area.
Fort Worth.
Fort Worth.
Fort Worth, I love you.
Yes.
That was a bumper sticker, I remember. Fort
Oh
Worth,
my
I
gosh!
love you.
Because why wouldn't you? I love Texas.
I met my wife in Texas. Yeah,
Yes.
so we have roots there.
That's why she's fantastic. Okay.
So Tennessee, you're a Tennessee resident?
Yep.
Okay, now I arranged to have a total solar eclipse go
Yes.
completely through your state.
Actually, Sumner County, where our farm is exactly like one of the best places.
So
we got to
maybe
see
my invitation was still in the
Lost
mail.
in the mail.
I'll go back home and check.
You could have come.
Maybe it was there.
We had a cookout.
I don't know.
We were on our land just hanging out.
I was maybe it's still in the.
It's totally. I just didn't have your address, the right one.
Did you have any like astro person on your ranch for this?
No,
You had no scientists on the ranch?
Do I love that I appear that I have scientist friends too. that
Everybody
I'm that cool.
needs a scientist at arm's reach.
I know. Well, we do have Chris Dye on our team, which he's a genius. We call him MacGyver on tour, but he wasn't in Tennessee at the time. But yeah, we were floored though. It was one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of.
Followed by a moon shadow.
It was so cool.
Steeped in darkness.
Steeped in Darkness. Write that book right now, sir. Look at you.
Steeped in darkness.
Nice.
No, I'm glad you experienced it. It's one of
was
the great
cool.
spectacles of nature.
Yes. It was amazing because once it happened, like literally the woods, like we have a lot of forests and woods on our land, it came alive. Like all of a sudden the locusts, the crickets, like everything was just like booming.
You heard all
sound.
the twilight creatures.
And, yes, and everyone was so quiet because we were, in awe of what was happening. And then all of a sudden we were like, oh my gosh, I mean, deer, like things were just coming alive. And then it was probably very confusing because then it stopped.
Right.
When the sun came back.
The animals saying, what the hell?
Yeah, they were like, what's happening? I'm getting punked.
Okay, so the next time there's a total solar eclipse over your farm, you're going to call me up.
I will call you up. I'm going to call you, and you aren't going to come, but I'm going to call you. You think I won't. Actually, the next time to see it, I think, is it, where's the next one they said that was coming? Was it in 24?
Well, there's an eclipse every couple of years, so they're not as rare as the press would have you believe.
No, agreed.
Right. So, and nowadays we have airplanes. So,
Yeah.
like there's one like in South America, like next year or the year after,
Yeah.
2019, I think. So you're never really that far away from the next one.
Yeah.
And lately, by the way, two-thirds of
they're all
Earth's
different.
2/3 of Earth's surface is ocean. So there are entrepreneurial sort of ocean people who say, we'll sail our boat into the eclipse path, and then you have an ocean cruise the rest of the time you're there.
What?
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty sexy.
Yeah, it totally
Yeah.
works completely.
Nice bottle of wine.
Totally.
Yes.
So
Singing some
what,
Total Eclipse of the Heart. Nothing I can do. Have you seen that video? It's amazing.
So I tweeted during the eclipse all the songs I knew that referenced
Oh, God,
a
you're
total
so
solar eclipse. So you should look it up. There's
I
some
am not
songs
that
in there.
fun.
No, you can make the eclipse album.
Yes.
No, we'll totally.
Oh my God, that's great.
We'll collaborate.
And
You hear that,
listen.
Atlantic Records? That's your next.
the duet between us. You could be like you're the voice though. You're the sexy voice in Boys to Men, and I'll be the singer. You do that. Hey, baby. You just come in and you just start talking it out. Talk science, dirty science. Talk nerdy to me.
I'd say, Kelly, look west.
Look west.
Here comes the moon shadow.
Moon.
1,800 miles an hour.
Yeah. And I'll just come in with, whoa, 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 whoa.
It is a cone through space of darkness.
Darkness, darkness, darkness.
Awesome.
Yeah.
She's every bit as fun as that conversation sounded like it was. And she also sounded pretty authentic to me in every way. I mean, I was totally like, it was, now maybe people just can be like this, where you kind of like, you were friends your whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I used to take that personally, like, wow, we really bonded, but I think they're just like that.
Right.
And that anyone in a conversation with them might feel the same way about them. So
she just has that type of spirit, you think?
Spirit, that's a good word.
Yeah.
Grounded, down to earth.
Right, yeah,
Really
yeah.
sounds
Anchored.
a solid person.
Right.
I'm more of a fan after hearing your interview with her, I have to say. And by more of a fan, I mean I am now a fan.
Love so soft.
That wasn't your thing, right?
I'm just,
It wasn't your thing.
No, I've always liked Kelly Clarkson. Always.
Yeah. So this Eclipse song that we were sort of sketching. Do you have a favorite Universe song?
It's really not a universe. It's more the closest celestial body in the solar system than it is a universe song. But fly me to the moon, and let me play amongst the stars.
Okay, so now people think of that song being about the moon, but the moon is like the closest thing it sings about.
It, yeah.
It also sings about Jupiter and Mars.
That on Jupiter, let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. Yeah. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's been Star Talk.
Take it on the road.
We're the three amigos. Brian, thanks for coming in for this.
My pleasure.
We'll have to find you again.
Please bring me back.
We will totally bring you back.
All right.
Fun
because we get singers. What are we going to do with this singer this time? But if we get a vocalist, he can come at it from every angle.
Absolutely.
Bring it on.
Exactly.
You got it.
I'm going to start using that. So what do you do? I'm a vocalist.
Here's my card.
Yeah, you can't say I'm not. You don't even know what it is. How the hell you going to tell me I'm not a vocalist and you don't even know what the hell it is? Okay.
All right, Chuck, always good having you.
Always a pleasure.
I've been your host, Neil deGrasse Tyson, your personal astrophysicist. And I want to thank Brian, Chuck, and of course, Kelly for making this show happen. You've been listening and possibly even watching Star Talk. And as always, I bid you to keep looking up.